Firstpost reports from the world's second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alison Lagrange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global south. Join me every weekday live on Firstpost. Hello and welcome to Firstpost Africa, where we get you the top stories from the continent and from across the world. I'm Alison Lagrange, coming to you live from Durban, South Africa. First, let's take a look at the headlines. US President Donald Trump warns Palestinian militant group Hamas to free all the hostages held in Gaza by Saturday. Trump's remarks come hours after Hamas said it is suspending the hostage exchange indefinitely. North Korea has given Russia an additional 11,000 troops, missiles, 200 pieces of long-range artillery, and a substantial amount of ammunition, claims South Korea. This as the war between Russia and Ukraine nears the 3-year mark. The third edition of the India-Egypt military exercise Cyclone commences in the Indian state of Rajasthan. The annual exercise aims to strengthen cooperation between the special forces of the two countries. Security forces in Somalia's Puntland region announced an airstrike killed more than 13 foreign fighters linked to ISIS terrorist group. The airstrike was part of a 24-hour counter-terrorism operation that targeted terrorist hideouts. And a bomb blast kills at least 5 people and wounds 7 in northeastern Afghanistan. No group has claimed responsibility for the attacks so far. Hello and welcome. Our top focus remains on South Africa. The newly signed land seizure law, which has triggered tensions with the United States, has now been challenged at a court by a party in the country's ruling government coalition. South Africa's second largest party, the Democratic Alliance, or the DA, which is also a coalition member with President Cyril Ramaphosa's African National Congress, has filed a court case against the controversial Land Expropriation Act. The law allows the government to seize farmland without any compensation under some circumstances. The DA has firmly rejected the law, calling it unconstitutional and undemocratic. It says no government should be given such sweeping powers to expropriate property without compensation. The party is a strong advocate of white rights and was once a rival of Ramaphosa's ANC. However, it joined the government last year after the ANC lost its parliamentary majority for the first time in 30 years. Despite joining hands, the two parties remain divided on foreign and internal matters, and land reforms is a key issue dividing the Ramaphosa government. Last month, President Ramaphosa signed a bill into law that allows the government to seize land without paying compensation. Even 30 years after the end of racial apartheid system, white South Africans own over 70% of farmland, despite their population being about 8%. On the other hand, only 4% of privately held land is owned by black South Africans, who make up nearly 80% of the country's 60 million residents. President Ramaphosa has repeatedly clarified that the law will not allow any forceful seizures. And no land has been confiscated yet. But the law has invoked anger and criticism all the way to the United States of America. US President Donald Trump has frozen foreign aid to South Africa, alleging that land is being confiscated already. He has called the law a violation of human rights. Not just this, he has also offered to resettle South African farmers and their families as refugees in the United States. However, most of the leading groups advocating white rights in South Africa have turned down Trump's offer. Apart from Trump, the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Trump appointee and tech billionaire Elon Musk have also attacked South Africa. Rubio is boycotting a G20 meet in Johannesburg this month, while Elon Musk, who was born in South Africa, has called the land seizure law openly racist. In the past, he accused South African government of doing too little to stop what he has referred to as a genocide against white farmers. Meanwhile, President Ramaphosa says the U.S. president's actions were based on a campaign of misinformation and propaganda to misrepresent South Africa. He said he will send envoys to the various countries to explain the government's recent policy changes, including the Expropriation Act. And as the land reforms row escalates, it has deeply divided South Africa. Former President Jacob Zuma's MK party has also formally laid treason charges against the pro-white organization AfriForum, accusing it of lobbying foreign powers to act against South Africa's sovereignty and economic interests. Is South Africa's land law really anti-white? And how will the country overcome the difficulties it has triggered internally and to its foreign relations? Now, to discuss further, we have with us Ruth Hall, a professor at the Institute for Poverty and Land and Agrarian Studies at the University of the Western Cape. She is joining us live from Cape Town. Thank you for being with us, Professor.
Thank you.
Now, the US president has criticized South Africa's land seizure law as being anti-white. How valid are these claims, and how does this narrative impact South Africa's international relations?
Thanks for the opportunity. Firstly, this is based on fake news. It's very unfortunate that the head of state of the United States would promote such a misrepresentation. We have a democratic constitution in South Africa that confirms that there are property rights in this country, but also the state has a responsibility to redistribute rights to land, including to Black South Africans who were dispossessed through apartheid. So in South Africa, we do not have a blanket rule against any kind of expropriation. In fact, our constitution says that our government can expropriate. Let's just be very clear, South Africa is not alone in this. Most democratic governments around the world have a right of eminent domain, where the state may acquire property without the consent of the owner for a variety of public purposes or in the public interest. The United States itself has this right of eminent domain. So what we're seeing here is that a law that does not allow seizure or confiscation of land, but expropriation through a legal process with recourse to the courts. That law was passed by a democratic government. It's in line with our constitution. It was promulgated by Parliament just about last year in March, and it's now been signed into law by the president. It is his duty to sign into law a legal constitutional law passed by our parliament. So I think that what we're seeing here is that certain groups interpret this as being racial. It is not racial. There is no mention of race in this law at all.
Right, and Professor, the DA has taken the Expropriation Act, the land seizure law, effectively to court, and they have been calling it unconstitutional. What are the key legal arguments in their challenge, and what implications could a court ruling against the law have on the government and the South African land reform policy?
Okay. Well, firstly, I think that we must be clear that the law itself allows a minister to take a decision to expropriate property, and that decision has to go through a very particular set of legal and administrative steps. There are 7 very long steps that will take about between 6 to 12 months, with opportunities for the property owner to object, respond, for anyone else affected to participate in a consultation process. The matter can be referred to a court. Now, what many of the critics of the Act are saying is that in this process, you will have a state versus a private citizen, and that it cannot be that there is an administrative process. It should always be decided by the courts, they are arguing. There are very few cases in which there might be no compensation, and the Act specifically sets out these very particular situations where the land has been abandoned, where it's held purely for speculation, where it is the product of corrupt or criminal activities, or where it's owned by an organ of state and not used for its proper purpose. So these are very exceptional cases. What is not allowed under the Act is that, for instance, a productive farm could be taken without compensation. The interesting thing here is, in fact, the organization representing white commercial farmers has not joined this legal challenge. They're happy to sit back and wait and don't object in principle to expropriation. So I think that what we've got here is actually a lot of people who are most likely to be directly affected, not calling foul over this law. But a number of interest groups have decided to really up the ante and make this into an international political football. It's clearly playing into a moment where geopolitically there is a lot of reason for Donald Trump to be putting pressure on South Africa. And I think that it's a concern for the whole world when power is used internationally in this fashion.
Yeah, and on that, what could the implications, the wider ripple effects be, given that the Democratic Alliance is a part of the ruling coalition of the GNU? How will this change or play out in the political landscape in South Africa today?
Yes, you're correct. Effectively, we are into an era of coalition politics, which is quite new for South Africa. And the African National Congress cannot make up its 50% majority without the Democratic Alliance. But further than that, I think we must be clear that the Democratic Alliance, even though it's a smaller party, needs to be in government to be able to deliver something to its voter base. I don't think that many analysts right now are expecting this to be a factor that would bring down our coalition. So that's not what is expected. I think the fallout is much more significant in terms of our international relations. Let's be clear that this is not in isolation. It is in a context where President Trump has criticized South Africa's referral of a case against the State of Israel to the International Criminal Court of Justice. Yeah. So this is direct retaliation for that, for our alliance with the BRICS countries, and for being perceived to be disloyal to the US in international affairs. And far more significant, a fear among white farmers in South Africa. They're not so much worried about expropriation. The much bigger immediate fear is that President Trump may remove South Africa from our preferential trade agreement with the US, that, like other African countries, gives us cheaper access into American markets. So this would bring a massive economic disadvantage to South Africans, including those who are exporting food to the US. So I think it's not correct to interpret this as being President Trump standing in alignment with white commercial farmers. This is about playing a geopolitical game and asking South Africa to step in line with the US.
Absolutely. Professor, thank you very much for being with us on Firstpost Africa. It was great to chat with you and your analysis and your interpretation of this. Very much appreciated.
Thank you so much.
And shifting our focus from South Africa, India is hosting Asia's largest air show and aviation exhibition this week. A number of aircraft and military equipment made in India are on display to boost defense exports. Delegations from at least 30 countries are participating in the air show. And among them are some delegations from African countries who are aiming to improve their military capabilities and defense partnership with India. On the sideline of the air show, India's defense minister has been holding bilateral meetings with the delegations from African nations, including Algeria, Tanzania, Zambia, and South Sudan. With the Algerian delegation, India held discussions on how to boost defense engagement. Now, deliberations were also held on the possibility of signing terms of reference for a joint commission in the military field to reap the benefits of an agreement signed between New Delhi and Algiers in November last year. With the Tanzanian delegation, India held discussions over counter-terrorism. Both sides also deliberated over increasing bilateral cooperation in areas such as dockyard development and shipbuilding. With the Zambian delegation, India held talks over ways to improve capacity building and UN peacekeeping operations in the African country. Now, both sides also agreed to finalize a term of reference for institutionalizing a joint defense cooperation committee. And with the South Sudanese delegation, India has discussed how to enhance training exchanges. Both the countries also agreed to expand relations through industry partnerships, while expediting efforts for a memorandum of understanding to strengthen defense partnerships. Now, the discussions with African delegations at the air show, called Aero India, come at a time when India is looking to enhance its defense footprint in the continent, which has also been importing weapons from Russia, the United States, China, Turkey, and Europe. It also entails the country's aim to counter the growing Chinese ambitions in the region.
My firm belief that the evolving global security scenario demands innovative approaches and stronger partnerships. India's engagements in the global stage exemplifies our commitment to fostering security and growth for all.
For now, India has been exporting only small arms and ammunition, offshore patrol vessels, helicopters, as well as armoured personnel carriers to African nations at a cheaper cost. The main African importers of Indian-made defence supplies have been the Seychelles, Mauritius and Mozambique. African nations such as the DRC and Nigeria have also expressed interest in buying the Tejas fighter jet from India. And as of 2023, the defence exports to Africa reportedly reached a share of 15% of India's total exports. Additionally, beyond defence exports, India has also increased the number of defence advisors at its embassies across Africa recently to promote defence exports and interests in the continent. It has also signed an agreement with Morocco to locally produce wheeled armoured platforms in the country. Moreover, India has also been providing training to African nations at its premier military institutes and has also held several military exercises, especially in the maritime domain, to enhance cooperation and trust. Apart from military partnerships, India has also been involved economically in the continent and is supporting the African ambitions of economic development and growth. So, as Africa denounces the West and its expensive military equipment, India is emerging as a new partner to turn to in order to fulfill their needs. And now turning our attention to the Central African Republic. The country has just launched a meme coin, or a cryptocurrency, similar to what US President Donald Trump launched just ahead of his inauguration last month. Announced by the country's president, Faustin Archange Touadera, on social media, the launch of the meme coin, known as the $CAR, aims to raise the country's profile as it is one of the poorest in the world. In a post on social media platform X, Touadera said that the meme coin was an experiment that was designed to show how something as simple as a meme could unite people, support national development, and put the country on the world stage in a unique way.
En 2022, La République centrafricaine a marqué l'histoire.
In 2022, Central African Republic has made history by becoming the second country in the world to adopt Bitcoin as legal currency. This decision demonstrated our commitment towards innovation, making US one of the pioneers in the adoption of blockchain technology and the opportunities it offers that the Central African Republic has always believed in the power and the importance of a strong community. Based on this belief and as a symbol of unity, I am proud to announce the launch of the official meme coin of the Central African Republic.
Touadera also shared a video of a high school which he said had been deteriorating rapidly and added that the meme coin would help support its rebuilding and furnishing, as well as give students a chance for a better future. Now, subsequently, he said that the launch of the meme coin was a success in the Central African Republic, which is the second country after El Salvador to adopt the cryptocurrency Bitcoin as legal tender. However, his post on successful launch came as the coin's value reportedly plunged nearly 90% after its launch, raising fears that it could be potentially a scam. So what is a meme coin and why has the Central African Republic launched it? Now, meme coins are a type of cryptocurrency. They are inspired by internet memes and trends, often started as jokes or cultural phenomenon. But they can quickly amass large following. Meme coins are usually highly volatile, meaning they see extensive price fluctuations, and are often seen as a purely speculative asset. Some of the most famous meme coins across the world include the Dogecoin, Shiba Inu, Pepe, among others. Now, despite its rich reserves of gold and diamonds, the Central African Republic has been deeply impoverished. It has been undeveloped and has been gripped by rebel violence for years. It had previously bought in the Sango coin, which was described as a national digital currency, after the country adopted cryptocurrency as legal tender in 2022. However, the initiative was not as successful as planned. A new meme coin means the country is able to integrate digital innovation into national development and to improve its economic prospects. And for this, it may have taken inspiration from US President Donald Trump. The US President launched a meme coin known as the Dollar Trump last month, just before he took office for a second time. It quickly surged and reached a peak of over $14.5 billion in overall market value. However, despite this example, the Central African Republic's launch has sparked skepticism and suspicion among investors. Within hours of the launch, deepfake allegations, website suspensions, and questionable domain registrations began casting doubts on the experimental project. But even as the government has doused the fire of suspicion among investors, the coin's value continues to slump as per specialist sites. Will this experimental project help to uplift the Central African Republic out of poverty? Or will it be a failure like the country's previous cryptocurrency initiative? Only time will tell. If you are a chocolate lover, our next story is for you. Ghana, which is the world's second largest cocoa producer, is celebrating the National Chocolate Week. The annual celebration, which will culminate on Valentine's Day, has some exciting events lined up. From cocoa quizzes to exhibitions and a massive chocolate feast. Not just this, all of the major hospitality services among the nation are offering special chocolate-based dishes on their menus and are handing out complimentary chocolate treats. Watch our next report to know more about Ghana's chocolatey Valentine's Week.
The Valentine Week in Ghana has just turned chocolatey. The West African country is celebrating the National Chocolate Week until the 14th of February. It's a celebration to highlight the unique cocoa products of Ghana, which is the world's second largest cocoa producer. It also aims to turn Ghana into a dream destination for any cocoa-based tourism. The event originally began in 2005 as a single-day celebration called the National Chocolate Day. It repositioned Valentine's Day as a celebration of cocoa's benefits. However, since 2021, this single-day event has been expanded into a week-long program with nationwide activities. This annual celebration is a partnership between the Ghana Tourism Authority, Ghana Cocoa Board, and the Cocoa Processing Company. This year's theme is Eat Chocolate, Stay Healthy and Grow Ghana, with a sub-theme of Chocolate for All, Taste, Share and Care. A lot of exciting activities are lined up throughout the week, including church visits, cocoa quiz competitions, exhibitions, and it all culminates in a street float and chocolate feast coinciding with Valentine's Day. To promote the celebrations, hotels, guest houses, and other hospitality services have joined in. They are incorporating chocolate and cocoa-based products as part of their menus while offering special chocolate-themed dishes and desserts. On February 14th, all hospitality services and airlines are encouraged to distribute complimentary chocolates as a symbol of love and care. Meanwhile, the general public is also encouraged to eat more chocolate and consume more natural cocoa to strengthen their bodies. The annual Chocolate Week is a massive effort to boost the domestic consumption of Ghanaian chocolate and other cocoa-based products. Cocoa plays a big role in Ghana's economy. The country is the world's second-largest cocoa producer. It contributed up to 7% of the country's GDP last year. While the country exports a lot of its cocoa, the local consumption has also increased from 0.45 kilograms to 1 kilogram within the past 7 years, as per officials. The Ghana government has pressed on the importance of increasing domestic cocoa consumption to maximize the sector's value. As part of efforts to promote cocoa products, President John Mahama has directed the Cocoa Board to ensure that the country increases its export of processed cocoa products rather than the raw cocoa beans. So, while Ghana's homegrown chocolate gets a boost, the country is turning into a chocolate paradise.
And that's it on the show for today. We will see you again at the same time tomorrow. Thank you for watching and goodbye.